Shalom, when the stuff was begin, all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem God Kadash. Double honors to the apostles of great most, and honors to you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, of whom the world English calls God, Jehovah, Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh. His son's real name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushua, meaning in, meaning that, and Sham, meaning names, Yahweh, and the name of Yahweh Shai. Real quick, just wanted to touch on this as Trump seeks to rebrand Department of Defense as Department of War. And, one of the things that is actually quite good about this is that's exactly what it is, right? He likes to use these things of reframing, whatever, what have you, right? But the truth of the matter is, this is what it's always been. Okay, scriptures talk about he's got certain slippery speech, right? What was it, 55? Right, he's got certain speech, right, where he'll talk smoothly with you. Department of Defense, we're defending ourselves, right? But really, what it's war. War was in his heart, okay. And he does this a lot, right? Where he'll frame certain things and he'll use certain wording to basically convey a different meaning from what is actually meant, right? So we can also load up this as well, which is why it is true. You're going to be we, Salaki Apostle Gabar likes to push right? We've got to be circumspect. We've got to really think about what it is that we're reading, what we're hearing, right? And decipher, right, with the with the spirit and the eye salve that we've been given, right? Because in this world you've got a whole host of it's examples like this, right? Because it was never a it was never a what's the word? It was never a thing of defense, right? I'm just looking at it, trying to multitask, Salakia, right? As we're looking for a particular precept. But I was reading. So Trump seeks to rebrand Department of Defense. In fact, let me read some of these precepts that we loaded up, and then I'll go through to the article. Right, it says the words of his mouth were smooth. Psalms 55 and 21. It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Right, Department of Defense. Right, it was never about defense. It was always about war. Okay, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's exactly what it is, right? You can't have the amount of military bases that America has, right? And then try, claim that it's something about defense when it's like, nah, you're literally everywhere. Just pulling up an image, and even this will be the ones that are even known, okay, because we got to be sure that this man has military bases that are off grid, okay. So you see it all the way here, right? All of these, right, everywhere, okay. All the way surrounding Russia, on the edge of Russia, right? All of these, and the thing as well is the fact that he's got bases in allied territories, okay. 58 in the UK as an example, right? And I remember there was a whole case one time where basically the UK is basically, there was a time when residents wanted to know whether there were nuclear materials, weaponry, right, being transported onto certain UK bases, and then the UK government was like, can't say. We don't know, okay, because it would just goes to show you exactly what it is. So for anyone to ever have called it anything other than the Department of War, right? Yeah, okay. So let's read that again. Psalm 65 and 21, right? It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords, right? And then Sirach 12 and 10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? So we don't trust this man when he speaks, right? We understand and we learn to basically filter out anything he says and to look through what he says with a fine-tooth comb. Okay, scripture says this, right? Also, there's a second. Let me see if I remember it for once. So I was doing a word search. Yeah, 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." Right? We're not ignorant that he likes to, frame things in a certain way. Right? We're not ignorant of that fact. Okay. In fact, we know it's certainly it's something that he does very much so as part of his witchcraft, right? This is part of the witchcraft. Okay, but let's read into some of this, right? So it says U.S. President Donald Trump will sign an executive order on Friday, right? So let's look at, so it's Friday the 5th of September, right? So let's look, because I remember Friday, that's Frigga's Day, but I don't know who Frigga is. So let me just say, what is the connection of Friday and paganism? Let's see what we can find, right? Right. So let's see. In fact, can I just go into let's see if I can go into AI mode and bring it into the screen. Okay. Bish bash bosh. Alright, so let's look at. Oh no, I don't know if what I'm gonna find. I'm just found it interesting. But so it says, what is the connection of Friday and paganism? It says the primary connection between Friday and paganism is its name, right, which comes from Old English Frigidae or Frigg's Day. This name, along with others in the Germanic tradition, honors the Norse god Frigg, who was associated with love, marriage, and fertility. The naming of Friday in the Germanic tradition can be traced through the following lineage. Romans named the sixth day of the week Dies Veneris, so even then you've got 6, right? It says after their goddess of love, right? Just seeing if there's anything else here. Well, it just looks like day of love, blah blah blah. So let's see. The pagans' association of Friday were later stigmatized by Christianity during the Middle Ages. As Christianity spread through Europe, the church vilified many pagan figures and traditions. Witches and demonic figures. Friday became known as the witches' Sabbath, right? In some tradition, contributing to the modern superstition that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. So the witches' Sabbath, right? Christian theology also reinforced this negativity by associating Friday with the crucifixion of whom they call Jesus Christ. We know his real name is Yahushua Mashiach. It says this clash of beliefs led to Friday having a dual reputation, a sacred, powerful day in ancient pagan traditions. Friday was seen as a day to honor the powerful feminine energies of the goddesses it was named for. It was a popular day for weddings and celebrations of love. Right. After Christianization, these associations were reversed, and the day was depicted negatively to suppress pagan worship. So. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I just found it, I was looking to see if there was anything special about whether, a Friday, because, we understand, that's another thing, we understand that these elites like working on, working with numerology, right? They're all about that witchcraft, okay? In fact, we can grab this in Isaiah, the 47th chapter, right? Right, it says, let me see where I can start. Isaiah 47:12. It says, so like one sec. It says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. Right? And when you're looking about from wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, from America's inception, it's been all about masonry and witchcraft and wickedness, right? This is what this man was all about. Okay, one should never ever believe that this man's changed. Okay, he can't change. So it says, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels, Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. All right, so it's going into how basically, he and his elites, just like how in ancient Egypt, right, you would have had the elites of you had the elites of ancient Egypt consulting with the magi's and stuff, and these elites today do the same thing. Okay, so what does the Lord say? Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So that's one of the many reasons, one of the multitude of reasons that America will be destroyed. Okay, all of this witchcraft that they move on, right? But let's get back into this, right? So U.S. President Donald Trump will sign an executive order on Friday that directs the Department of Defense to be known as the Department of War. The move will restore a name, right? The agency last held in the 1940s, according to the text of the order seen by the BBC. The aim is to project strength and resolve. Right, the department will initially use the name as a secondary title, while the administration seeks congressional approval to make the change permanent. The White House is yet to say how much a rebrand would cost, but US media expect $1 billion price tag for the overhaul of hundreds of agency emblems, email addresses, and uniforms. Right, so once again, someone's getting paid. Right, so it says, which was established as a cabinet level agency in 1789 and existed until 1947. Right, so how many years is that? That's 78 years in between them, right? Because we're 2025 and 1947, right? So it says, the name Department of War conveys a stronger message of readiness and resolve compared to the Department of Defense. Okay, so that's pretty much it on that particular thing. But let's grab this, right? This is Ecclesiastes 3, right, from the top. It says, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Right, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pick up that which is planted. Right, and then down here in verse 8, right, it says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Right, and we're definitely in that time of peace. See, that's Satan. That's Satan, because it's just, we're definitely in a time of war, right? And then we're gonna keep getting closer and closer, right? Because we understand, as the precepts say, right, that this man understands that he has but a short time left. This is Revelation 12:12. So therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right. So as always, Lord's will that was edifying. Till next time, we say Shalom.